start to put tension on my string drawback, I was like, okay, I'm gonna smoke.
It's him. You can look at the horns when he's dead. I'm in the zone. Let the arrow go. Just perfect.
When they lose their front doors, you start, that's how you know they're smoking.
Went about 5-10 more yards. He probably went 20 yards. Stepped down. We tried getting back up. I saw him fall up.
We rushed 14 rods that night. We got like 156 and something like that, and then the next day we came out to 163 even.
You're listening to the White Cat Outdoors podcast, bringing you to the table where we talk about the outdoors.
Hello, everybody. Episode 143 of the White Cat Outdoors podcast, and I apologize. I might be hacking and sniffling a little bit. I'm a little sick, so
It's COVID.
Yeah, I'm riddled with COVID. Not actually. So I probably won't be doing all of the talking. I'll leave that to Nick and Tom since they're both here.
What's going on?
How is everybody?
We're good. I bet they're so good.
They are. I know, because for some of them, hunting season's already started, and for the ones that haven't, it's right around the corner. We're talking like by the time this launches, like 2 weeks out for most guys.
Yeah, I'm
It's
excited.
big.
I'm real excited.
So we're continuing the
Little 3-part series.
yeah, and the first one it was kind of my bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
Last week, mid-season is Frank's bread and butter, and some may say we saved the best for last. I'm not saying it, but some may.
I am.
the
My
r-
favorite time to be in the woods.
We're talking about
I think he was referring to you, and then that's why he was downplaying it, because you're not the best.
Oh.
I mean,
he missed it, but
he said it, not me.
One of them airplane jokes.
Yeah.
yeah,
Anyways, we're talking about the rut this week.
gotta be your bowl.
Things change throughout the season. You got to kind of approach your hunt differently as time goes on. And Tom has seemed to have the rut figured out. Majority of his archery bucks are actually, they would all be archery bucks because it's the rut, but the majority of Tom's bucks are killed, early November, first couple weeks in November. So we'll
A side note with that, was it last year or the year before they extended the season another week?
Last year was
Last
the first
year
year.
was the first year. I love that. Even though I've never killed a deer in the rut, I feel like we have not gotten peak rut ever. I feel like.
I mean,
it
I don't
differs
see
per deer. I think.
It's regionally too, because
Yeah.
I know the one farm we hunt that's like upstate New York, peak rut is always first-ish week of November.
Really?
And we always, it's what I consider peak rut. I'm not talking about lockdown. I'm saying peak movement for the rut.
The chase.
Yeah.
The chase, yeah. Because, technically, I think scientifically the peak rut is actually like lockdown and there's not a ton of movement going on. But I'm saying
But
for
peak
hunting
rut for
purposes,
hunting, yes.
with peak movement in the rut phase, we always see that first week of November up there. And there's tons of chasing going on. The woods smells like the rut. There's hot does all over. Mm-hmm. But I would agree that
I feel like we've always been we're just getting into that full-blown movement phase when our season ended. Until last year, we got that extra week.
Yeah, and I know Tom's cameras definitely light up more, that we get a lot of daytime movement, the first couple weeks, but I'd have to agree personally when it comes to, I see way more rut activity on those pieces early November than I do back home. Mm-hmm. But I think it all comes down to when the does in your area go into heat.
Yeah, no doubt. And weather will play a big part in it too.
Yeah, big cold snap can really help.
Kick it up.
So I guess we'll start with Tom because that's his bread and butter. So Tom, why don't you run us through a day in the life of a rut hunter, Tom?
So the first thing I would say when it comes to being successful during the rut is you got to spend time in the woods. That's when you want to be doing your all-day sits, all day, every day in the woods, grinding it out. And it can get tough. But, a lot of times I've had a lot of action from that, what they call 10 to 2 time frame.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Why do they call it that?
Because it's from 10 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon.
Sounds
From-
That's a
logical.
really good name for it.
Yeah. And, a lot of times hunters, they'll call it quits at 9:30.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm
Yeah,
even
Frank's one of those
even in
guys.
the rut. I'm 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'm like,
I'm just saying, I don't
I want to go back and eat something. I'm
say looking back, you don't do all day sits.
not in archery. No, in
Yeah.
rifle I'll do all day sits.
Last year, I arrowed my buck when Frank was
I was-
3/4 of the way up to the cabin.
That's a fact. That is a fact.
Some would say you pushed it to him.
I say that for sure.
Yeah, I guess. So yeah, you go on that, spend that extra, couple hours in there, pack a lunch, granola bar, whatever it takes, and it comes down honestly a lot of luck. I think more than
Because
I
they
think
can
you
go
can-
anywhere.
I think you create your luck to an extent by putting yourself in high odds locations.
and like you said, being out there.
But yeah, continue.
No, I was just gonna say I kind of during the rut I wouldn't say I 100% abandon food, but I hunt a little bit differently in the aspect of I'm not as focused on the food as I am on the does.
Which is a big change because normally you spend a lot of time on food. Like
Right.
Me and Nick will travel around a little bit, get more in the woods, but you focus more on the food. So for you, leaving the food is a big change.
Right. But if I notice, I'm still having a lot of does come out into the food plots, well, I'm still going to hunt on the food plots because bucks are going to come out and scent check those does.
So you're just following the does, basically.
Yeah, I follow the does. I hunt food sources where I know there's does. I hunt downwind of food sources, downwind of doe bedding, travel corridors. If I find a fresh scrape, I'll hunt that. Scrapes are great that time of year, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Tough to beat.
And I don't shut up when I'm in the tree stand. Every 15
So I
minutes.
think that's where a lot of it's going to change for us too.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
Yeah. And every 15 minutes I'm calling. And it's not just like
So yeah, run us through your.
You don't have to make the sounds, though.
But run us through how your sequence, and I also want to hear your inspiration for this sequence.
Well, I'll give the man his credit right off the bat, and I've tweaked it a little bit, and
Made it better, some
I-
would say.
I wouldn't say that. He's got more success than I do, but I've added some steps, and I've had it work. But I'm gonna give credit to Stan Potts. He's the one
Old
that
pal.
yeah, and he showed me the rattling sequence into rattling in bucks in the rut. And a lot of times guys, they'll just be in their stand, they'll pull out their rattle bag or their 2 rattling antlers, and they'll clank them around a little bit and whatnot, and okay, I don't want to make too much noise, and tuck these away. But first thing I do, and I don't use rattling antlers, I use a rattle bag. It's just easier, smaller, more compact, easier to carry. First thing I do when I'm rattling is I will take that bag and smack it against the tree as hard as I can. Really a loud crash. And that's the 2 bucks
Locking
in. And I don't
Is
know.
there a lanyard or anything that you've got around your wrist? Like, have you dropped a rattling bag doing this yet?
No. And I don't.
Or
I've
busted a knuckle?
a lot of times people, they'll rattle for 15 seconds, call it good. I've seen mature bucks fight, and I've heard mature bucks fight that I could not see. And it sounds totally different than pulling out a rattle bag, clinking it around for 15 seconds, then tucking it back in your bag.
That's a fact.
There's snorting, stick snapping, rubbing up against brush, and it's a thrashing mess. And
Sounds like at some points it to me reminds me of like even like throwing like a tire or a rock down a hill, like that sound of just like banging, crashing, just like a ton of disruption.
yeah, and it goes on for more than 10, 15 seconds. It's wild. And when I'm hunting the rut, I'm not really worried if I scare a 4-point away.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not after that. I'm after the big boy that's going to come in and say, who the hell's fighting on my turf? Like,
Yeah.
these are my doe. I'll show you. But anyway, aside from the rattling, here's what I like to do. I'll start off my calling sequence with an estrus bleat. You know, just nice estrus bleat a few times.
Before or after the rattling? Because this is
He said he starts his calling sequence.
But then he made a comment about like forget about the rattling. But
Yeah, I said
wanna-
forget about the rattling. I'm going to show you how I start my sequence.
Oh, okay.
If you would
Nick,
listen.
are you just trying to disrupt everybody?
Yeah, big time.
So I start with an estrus bleat. Okay, couple of those, and I just hang quiet for a few.
Can or you use your?
I use the extinguisher. Yeah, can't go wrong there.
Sure can.
And then I wait approximately 2-3 minutes. And then I break out the old trail grunt, which that's like a series of short grunts.
Tending. I always call it like a tending grunt.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And now you got the picture. Okay, there's a hot doe over there. Here's this other buck coming in, and he's starting to trail that doe. Wait a few minutes, then I break out the old challenger grunt, which is a long, low, deep grunt, followed by a couple snort wheezes. And a lot of people, they say snort wheeze and it's too aggressive, you're going to scare bucks away.
I've had a lot of luck with snort wheezing.
I think if you have an
immature buck,
like
a
a
buck
like
that you want to kill isn't going to shy away.
I think a buck that has a dominant nature to him, I think they're pissed off by a snort wheeze, not intimidated.
Yeah.
I agree. They'll do it right back and come over. I've seen
that's
that several
that's
times.
the buck. One of the encounters I had last year was that exact scenario. I snort wheezed him in from 50 into the 25. Like he had stalled out there, snort wheezed, and he was like, "Oh no."
I don't think so.
So, challenge, grunt, snort, wheeze, and wait another 2-3 minutes, and then I get into the rattle sequence. So now I've painted this whole picture. Okay, there's a hot doe, buck started chasing, new buck comes in, challenges that buck, now they get into a fight. So now if there's a big buck close by hearing this, he's like,
Whoa, whoa,
whoa,
whoa.
there's 2 bucks over there with my doe. Now he's coming in. And then after the rattle sequence, like I said, 15, maybe 20 minutes, start the whole process over.
It's wild.
Yeah.
So after the sequence is finished, you wait 15 minutes. It's not 15 minutes from when you start.
Yeah.
15 minutes from
Because
finish.
at that point you're doing it all day.
You never stop.
And another thing I like to do when I'm rattling, this is only if I'm in a tree where I have good cover. If I'm on a telephone pole kind of thing, I'm not going to be doing this. But I will take my rattle bag, smash it up against the tree, and then I'll use one hand and I'll smack it against my thigh and rattle with one hand against my thigh. And I'll take a branch and rake it through the leaves and branches next to me. Mm-hmm. That way you get the rumble of the leaves and whatnot.
So I got to ask, because I don't know if I don't think I know the answer to this. With all of the calling and everything you do during the rut, do scents play anything or play a role in your repertoire of rut hunting?
If I have scents, I'll use them. I'm not the guy that says, oh no, I'm out of estrus doe urine, I got to go buy a can right now. But if I have it in my bag, I'll use it.
How often would you say you have like it's kind of a weird way to answer that question. Like, do you
use it or not?
Yeah,
Tom?
do you buy estrus and use it, or did you find a can like in the woods and be like, oh, I guess I'll use this?
I'll use
like
it.
obviously, if you sometimes have it in your bag, you do buy it, right?
Yeah, like,
Okay.
and I just told Uncle Mark the next time he's in the area to stop at one of our local bow shops and pick me up some of them scent candles.
Those things are.
Yeah, those are
Those
nice.
are one of the few scents that I remember from when I was younger that actually seemed to do something.
Yeah, I used those for quite a few years. I haven't in several years for whatever reason, not because I don't like them. I just haven't.
I don't think we
had
don't
the
have any
gumption
left.
to go buy them. Yeah, but I always had luck with them. Deer will go right to it and shove their nose right
They'll
in that
burn their
candle.
nose on that candle.
I've seen them do it several times.
So what else, Tom? What else are you doing to increase your odds?
I shouldn't say I'm doing this to increase my odds, but this is something I'm gonna start doing this year. Now that we have cell cams, when I see a fresh scrape open up, putting a cell cam on it. And then when I start seeing bucks hit it in daylight hours or, within 15, 20 minutes first light, then I'm going to start hunting that scrape. I'm going to try that out.
I think you'll have a lot of luck with that.
Yeah. Well, that's if I don't get one early, if I'm still hunting during the rut.
I know I won't be.
Yeah, chances are you will be.
Yeah. Last year I killed October 20th and November 13th. And November 13th, that was one hell of a rut morning. That was the 6th buck I saw, and I grunted and snort wheezed him right in.
At what, like 9:30?
Yeah, probably about 9:30.
Yeah,
So-
it was between like 9:30
So 6
and 10.
bucks in about 2.5 hours of daylight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because by that time, 7 o'clock is about.
Yeah, about your time.
Well, no, because this is after the time change.
Oh yeah. So, okay, but
Yeah, so
under
you're
four.
about 6:30.
So you're talking
Yeah.
over a buck an hour.
Oh, yeah.
It's a pretty good wage.
Yeah, it's. I mean, for me, that's in this area. I think that's a pretty good day.
Yeah. And I was calling nonstop. So if that tells you anything, it doesn't spook them.
Yeah.
Nice. So
And
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think 3 of those 4 came right underneath my stand to the calling. One I ended up shooting. The other ones I'd call, and then a couple minutes later, they'd
Come
meander
sauntering
through.
over.
Yeah, just checking it out.
Nice. So, a lot of what I do is very similar to what you do, without the excessive calling.
What do you mean excessive? When I think of excessive, I think of too much.
Sounds like you're doing.
Okay, can I
just
call it an
right.
abundance of
Yeah,
calling?
An abundance would be appropriate
Okay, so
because it's a lot, but it's not too much.
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
an-
excessive.
It's like
Yeah.
when you put garlic on anything, you can
Can't-
put on you can put a shit ton on there, but it's never too much.
yeah,
So
It's
you
never
it-
excessive.
yeah.
but you can put an abundant amount, and that's still a good thing.
Yes.
Okay, so besides like the abundant calling, I'm an all-day rut hunter. I do the same thing. Pack a lunch, sandwich. Usually, one Gatorade, one water. I think the more
And you
comfortable-
piss right from the stand, too.
yeah,
Right? Yeah.
oh yeah.
Big time.
Yeah, I ain't got no problem with it. But I think, and one thing you didn't mention that I'm going to mention anyway, is I think a big part of all day hunts is you have to be comfortable, and that includes, if you like to drink a lot of water, Gatorade, like make sure you have it. If you like to eat, bring food, and the other thing is hand warmers. In this area of the country, it gets awfully cold in November, and I mean you can see single digits easily in that time. And if you're too manly to use hand warmers, which I used to think I was, and by that 9:30, 10 o'clock that Tom's talking about, you're so cold, and all you can think about is that red glow coming from the fire at camp. And once you get the idea of going back to camp in your head,
as
it
soon
is
as-
so hard to
Yeah.
get it out.
yeah.
And I've learned that if you can stay comfortable out there, you don't think about it. Obviously, action in the woods helps that,
help.
but there's some days where it is slow for a couple hours.
Yeah.
So being comfortable is huge. So I always,
Especially like you said, that 10 to 2 time frame. Most of the time, it is really slow. So
but you can catch that big buck
Yeah.
making midday movement, so it's worth it. But you're gonna have to sit through some slow times in a lot of cases. So being comfortable is a big thing for me. Just making sure that the stand I'm hunting for an all day sit is comfortable, and that I can handle sitting in it all day. Drinks, granola. I like granola bars. I think this year I'm going to start taking granola bars out of the packaging and putting them in Ziplocs.
they make a lot of noise.
Yeah, there is nothing.
I just like to grunt while I'm opening it. Believe me, yeah. That's a true story.
Brad up in Alaska, this is a side note. Every day, like when he has a client that likes snacks, every day he'll bring in a whole box of snacks and like throw them in front of the guy, like take out what you want, open it right now because we're not doing this later. He gets so fired up about people eating snacks. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I haven't done that, but I think this year I'm going to just put them in Ziplocs because there's nothing louder than a bag of M&Ms on a crisp November morning. Mm-hmm. I don't like I love like peanut M&Ms. That's another one I like in a stand.
Yeah, I think you're overthinking it. Buck's not going to hear that and there's someone in a tree eating M&Ms.
I just think it's a very loud, unnatural sound. And I just don't like that.
I think it triggers a little curiosity.
I mean, you are the one that kills most of the time in November, but that's just me. I do
stupid in November.
Yeah, they do.
But anyways, so I don't do any blind calling. I used to, and I never saw any results from it. So I have moved on to I just call on bucks that I don't think I'm going to get an opportunity at if I don't do something. And I have watched that work for me. So like that's why I do believe in that.
So let me ask you a question. So if you've seen deer respond to a call that you thought weren't going to come in close enough, why do you think it wouldn't work on a deer within hearing range that you just can't see yet?
Yeah, say you can see, in this stand, you can see 100 yards, and there's a deer 100 yards away, and you call him in. What if there's another stand that you can only see 50 yards, but there's a deer at 100?
That you don't see.
I mean, your math is correct.
That's how
numbers add up.
Yeah, the math's there. It's just that's just what I do. I mean, I'm not here to say that it's the right thing.
I'm just trying to open your mind a little bit.
Part of it is the movement that comes with it.
Stay woke, Nick.
So if it's the movement, why would you be doing it when deer...
when they can see you?
Well, I'm not saying that they can see me. I'm not like... One, I don't hardly rattle at all. I mainly just use a grunt tube that's around my neck. Like I have a pack rack, but it very rarely comes out of my bag. Usually it's when I'm bored. That's... Like, if there is any blind calling in my arsenal, it's because I'm bored.
See, I think that calling actually helps me stay out longer.
Because you know every 15 minutes I'm going to do this again.
And every time I do it, I'm like, okay,
Here
there's
he
one
comes.
coming. There's got to be one coming.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's just me. Scents aren't... I can't remember the last time I used scents. It's been years. One thing that I used to love was the scent wafers.
You used to use the shit out of
I would wear them on.
Wafers
I had Fresh Earth.
you
I
had all
Acorn.
kinds of
I
different
had
ones.
Dominant Buck, Doe, and Estrus. Like I had all these different scents, and like I wouldn't put them all out at the same time. But like early season, I would just have like a Fresh Earth wafer on my hat in the stand, and then early. Like, pre-rut,
Yeah.
I might, just try and get something fired up with, a little Dominant Buck or something. Just when they're starting to cruise their scrapes and everything, like, what's this? And, my grandpa always used the scent wafers, and he would hang them in, like, the windows of his blinds. So didn't matter what window you put them in, when the wind blew, you just got a whiff of doe piss. Like, I mean, from like a foot and a half away.
Nice and pungent.
Yeah, really stings the nostrils. But I mean, my grandpa's killed a ton of good bucks. So anything that man did in the woods, I always took note of.
Yeah.
So for a long time, I used the same exact scent wafers in a similar manner because I don't hunt blinds a ton with archery season just because the compound it's really difficult. But I would hang, doe estrus in the tree with me. Sometimes it would be on the ground. Like if he did something, I always took note of it and would give it a try for a while.
Yeah.
But I never, besides the candles or the smoke sticks, those are the only two scent products that I for sure saw an improvement on my hunt with it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is related to heat. And I'm going to use kind of a crude analogy here. But there is nothing worse than a fart in a hot shower. And tell me I'm wrong.
You're right.
That's
And it's the heat.
really accentuates the smell.
Yeah, and like to keep it less crude, like warm apple pie smells way better than an apple pie that came out of the fridge.
Yeah.
Like heat accentuates the scent coming off of it. So I think using a candle or those smoke sticks adds heat into the equation, and it allows the scent to travel further. And I think that's what it. And
I've honestly never made that connection, but it makes perfect sense.
It may say that right on the box. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's just what my mind, like the reason I see that it works better, or I saw that it works better, and my conclusion on why it does, because all it is dough, piss, and wax.
Yeah.
And then you light it on fire.
Yeah.
So the only thing I can come up with is that it's the heat. Like it just it makes the scent that much stronger to a buck.
Yeah.
So
And one thing I want to point out that I'm always conscious of when I am using scents is scent location.
Yeah.
I never hung them directly in the tree with me. You don't want your scent blowing down the same scent path as your own body scent, because a buck's gonna smell. He might smell that doe estrus, but he's
Smelling
gonna
you too.
smell you as well.
and a deer's nose can pull apart scents, not like
Yeah.
like humans. Like
Yeah. If
You
were
smell
to
whatever's stronger.
Yeah.
Well, I
Or
mean-
you'll smell a mix of the two, and
yeah, you smell like when somebody sprays Febreze in the bathroom,
you smell
like-
shit.
you smell like shitty flowers. Well, a buck can pick out the shit and the flowers totally separately. And I think that's what you're getting at, is like you don't want them together.
Yeah, so let's just say in a perfect scenario, I'm in a tree stand and I'm facing north. The wind is coming from the north, so it's blowing directly in my face. I won't put that scent 25 yards straight in front of me. Mm-hmm. I'll go out 25 yards straight in front of me and then cut over 90 degrees another 25 yards. So when they come in downwind of that scent, they're still going to be 25 yards from me, but they're going to be away from
Off
my
of
scent
you.
cone.
Yeah. And then the last part of like my operation in the rut is location. And I'm big on pinch points. I do pay attention to like scrapes and everything, but the number one factor is I want natural pinches that forces deer to bottleneck somewhere. And my favorite one is bodies of water. If there's two bodies of water that
Beaver swamps are great.
yeah, so like obviously a deer is capable of crossing water, but
They don't
if
want to.
if they know that if they go down another 50 yards they can just cut through dry land, that's 99% of the time that's what they're going to do. So bodies of water is what I always try to find, a pinch that forces deer that are in one block of timber, it bottlenecks between some water and then opens back up, that forces the deer in this one little channel. That's my favorite, but any sort of pinch that I can get myself into, that's what I really focus on. Now, if I can pair that with like does, that's even better. And then, if you get a scrape line or bedding that's close, even better. But the first thing I look at is the pinch.
No doubt. I'm a big pinch point guy as well.
So that's pretty much my whole playbook when it comes to the rut.
I just go rogue. I do whatever.
Tell us all about
I'm all over
Frank
the place.
Rogue.
Yeah.
And
Once after October, once November hits, I could be anywhere, anytime. I just kind of wander around if I find some sign, or I really like bottlenecks, pinch point stuff. I'm all about that. Pretty much any time of the year I'm about bottlenecks. But if I see sign, I'll hunt it. I'm all over the place during the rut. I kind of lose focus. I just broaden everything and I just wander around, and whatever I find and work with it. And I should start doing all day hunts, but I just get impatient, and
it is tough. And like I said, there's little tricks to keep you out there a little bit longer. But at the end of the day, it's a mental game that you're playing.
no doubt it is for sure. And I get bored. I'm like, I could be over there. I could do this. I could do that.
I also, if you're in the woods scouting and moving around. Like, I consider that an all day hunt.
Yeah.
Like, it's not an all day sit, but you are hunting all day.
Yeah.
Like, if you sit till 9:30 and you can't take it sitting there anymore, but then you move 500 yards, over the course of an hour or 2 hours, slowly scouting your way through, locating sign, you're still hunting.
Yeah.
Just because you're not sitting 20 feet in a tree or 15 feet in a tree or whatever,
Yeah.
you're still hunting.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're gathering intel for maybe
Yeah.
your next sit.
Like
or
Tom
you
said,
happen
like time
upon
in the
something.
woods
Yeah.
equals bucks in November.
Yeah, so if you're out wandering around and you find what looks like a great spot or some hot sign at noon and set up, you weren't sitting in a tree for the past couple hours, but you found something very worthwhile that got you into possibly
Yeah,
a good spot to be.
exactly. That you wouldn't have found.
Yeah.
had you stayed
And
in that spot.
I go with more of that approach. I don't, and I could be wrong about it, but I'm not a good all day sitter.
Some people just
even
don't
in
have it in
rifle
them.
season, I don't love it, but I'll do it just because of where we live. It is very advantageous to be in the woods all day long, but the day is a lot shorter during rifle season, so it's a lot easier. But I get impatient and I start either walking around or I find something else to do other than sitting right there.
What about calls and scents?
I'm kind of like right in between you guys with calls. I will blind call, but I don't do it all day. In the first thing in the morning, I'm dead silent. I let the deer do their normal natural thing, and whatever happens, happens. And then as the morning wears on, or whatever, or like early in the evening, before the deer are really moving heavy, I'll do some blind calling. I do call a lot to deer that I see. If there's a buck, if it looks like it's coming to me, I won't make a sound to him. I don't want, if he's coming, I'm not going to give him any other stimulus that might change his path. But if it looks like he's not coming to me, then I'll say, hey, come on over. But so I'm like right in between you. Tom never shuts up. You only call a deer you see. I kind of take the hybrid happy medium.
I kind of feel like my lack of blind calling almost comes from I have like this feeling that like if I blind call and I don't see anything, I relate it to it not helping me. Like it like almost hurts me. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's true, but I wonder if there's like something going on in the back of my mind saying like, oh, if I didn't see a deer from this, like it's because it's hurting.
Yeah.
Not that it's just not doing anything.
Yeah. I know what you mean. It's just a subconscious thing that you can't get out of your head.
Yeah. What about scents? I know you mentioned using the candles back in the day.
Pretty much the only time I've ever really used scents is that. I don't spray anything on my boots when I'm walking, and I never do scent trails or anything like that. Not that I'm against them. It's just not something that I do.
I think most of any like techniques that people use, it's because at one point they had like a
great
a great memory off of it, and they are stuck with it for life.
Yeah.
And I think that's, Tom with his sequence, he's seen it work many times, so he swears by it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, not at all. If it works for you and keeps you in the woods, by all means.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched my granddad do plenty of trails walking in, and looking back, I can't remember a time that like I watched a buck like nose on the ground follow that trail. Now I've seen plenty of bucks on hunts that he did that, but I wasn't able to
correlate it to
an experience of where I shot a big buck that I watched put his nose on the ground
on your scent trail.
Yeah, like I had like a buck that I called at when he was about 120 yards out, turn on a dime, come walking right at me, and I snort wheeze to close in the distance. Mm-hmm. That kind of thing sticks with you. Yeah. And now I'm like,
you watched it work.
Yeah, now I'm like, okay, if there's a buck out there and I don't think he's coming my way, I'm going to make it happen. And I know how to do it because I've seen it work before.
Yeah, exactly.
May not work every time, but I believe it's going to now.
Yeah. Yeah, if it worked once, you think it has the potential to work every time you do it.
Yeah.
And it keeps you doing it.
Yeah, and you get better with it too. I think Tom's calling and his sequence...
yeah, I'm sure you didn't find that on your first try.
Well, and his cadence, I'm sure, is way more accurate than mine is. Just because he does it so much more. But
yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's what I'm about. I'm just
Do you- so-
I'm all over the place.
A guy that doesn't like to sit for very long, do you? What's your take on like hand warmers, any drink or snacks, or like what do you bring in the woods for a November hunt?
I usually don't bring food. I'll bring a snack or like if it's anything, it's a granola
fast break.
bar. Yeah. Dude.
Frank's a big fast break
I-
guy. I was gonna say you can't say you don't bring anything because I don't think
I-
we've ever gone
I
to the
love-
headquarters without buying a fast break
I
before
love
we go.
fast breaks. Those things are so good. What I hate is that a lot of country fairs only have the small ones, and I'm not into that. I won't buy a small one. I might buy a small one, but
If
You
that's
will.
all they have.
yeah, I prefer the bigger ones.
If it's my birthday,
So yeah, I might have a fast break on me, and I usually have a bottle of water just because. But I'm not usually out there that long, so I don't usually get into it. I'll have a bottle of water in my pack all season long, and never touch it. Or one day I might drink the whole thing. You know, I don't know. I'm all over the place, especially like once the season's wearing on toward into November. I could do anything. Who knows?
yeah.
I don't even know half the time.
One of my favorite things is walking through the apple orchard on your way to the stand, pulling a few pears or apples.
I do that.
I
I'll
grab a
pull-
handful of soybeans too. I love soybeans.
I don't like soybeans. I don't do that. I've tried them. I have done it, but I don't like it. But I'll pull like turnips or radishes out of the food
turnips
plot,
are one of my faves.
pull apples off the trees. I'm all about that.
I like the bite, like this, like horseradish spiciness you get out of
Yeah.
a turnip or a radish.
Yeah. And
Stellar
you got to leave a
combo.
little bit of dirt on there, so you got a little bit of grit in your teeth. Makes you feel a little bit more like a man.
I have a feeling people think we're joking, but I honestly
I
love
swear,
pulling radishes or turnips.
I do too.
It's just I don't know something. I feel like it makes me. One, I like the taste, but two, it makes me feel more like of a badass when I'm hunting, like just like eating right out of the ground. And
It's not a badass thing for me. I just like the taste.
no, I do like the taste. I'm saying, but like I feel like it makes
Yeah.
me feel like I'm.
Better
like-
than everyone
Yeah,
else.
you're better than us.
Well, I mean, like there's to
Well,
me
not
like
better than me.
when you're
but
in
better
when
than
it's
Tom.
in the fall, you grab that apple off the tree. You just feel like you're more involved in the hunt, or like
Yeah.
like I'm
Eating what the deer's eating.
Yeah.
Pissing where the deer's pissing.
shit where the deer shits.
Yeah.
You know, it's just I don't know exactly how to describe what I'm trying
Kind
to
of
say.
become a whitetail.
Yeah.
In a
Become
sense,
one
yeah.
with the woods.
I wonder. I'm sure there's a guy out there that tried like eating a deer's diet to like change his piss. I wonder if that's been a thing.
You know, with the way people do things nowadays, I wouldn't be surprised.
Have you ever eaten an acorn?
They're terrible.
I've watched Tom
so-
eat acorns.
I wish we
take
still
that
had that
I've
video
watched
somewhere.
Tom chew up acorns and spit them back.
Very tough to swallow one. You seen a good buck that night,
We
though.
did. Yeah,
a lot
we
of
did.
tannins.
Yeah,
Or
they're
what?
Tannins. I think that's what they're called, isn't it? What makes them bitter?
Yeah,
Tannins.
Oh, yeah.
it's gross.
Yeah, there's more tannins in the red oaks. That's why deer like white oaks better, is they're less bitter.
Huh.
Did you know that?
Yeah. But if there's no white oaks, they'll eat the reds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like me with my fast breaks. If
like if
there's
you-
no big one, I'll eat a small one. But
Like a chocolate chip cookie and an oatmeal raisin cookie. You know,
you pick the oatmeal raisin every time.
what? No,
I'm
he's-
joking.
I was going to say
hate-
you're
I
joking.
hate
But you'll eat
raisins.
it.
I
That's,
love oatmeal raisin.
but you're not going to pick it over chocolate chip. I mean, you might say you will, but
No, I'm not for sure. No,
Like-
white chocolate macadamia nut?
that's number one.
Dude,
You know how they have those cookie trays where typically, like, you go to Sam's Club, you buy a cookie tray. There's chocolate chip, white macadamia,
M&M,
M&M, and
oatmeal
oatmeal
raisin.
raisin. Oatmeal raisin's my go-to.
It's the last one
I
on
was
the
gonna
tray
say-
for every tray
Yeah.
ever created.
I've never seen the oatmeal raisins go first. They're always the last
Oh, I
ones
love
on
them.
the
It
tray.
goes oatmeal raisin, macadamia nut, M&M, chocolate chip.
Wow,
Chocolate
you're
chip,
blowing
that's
my
like
mind.
the most basic cookie out there.
It's not basic. It's popular because it's one of the best.
It's like baseball and an apple pie. It's American.
I'm just saying.
Church on Sunday. It's just American.
Agree to disagree, Tom.
I guess so.
Anyways, you know what I'm saying though. Like
Yeah.
they prefer the white oaks because they're less bitter.
Yeah.
But that pretty much wraps it up for me and you guys. I mean, Tom, do you
that's-
wanna close us out, being the rut master?
I didn't get to close
I know, yeah.
out.
Frank didn't get to close it out, but
Okay.
um,
Tom's stretching right. He's
yeah,
getting ready
he's
for it.
I can tell he said he was going to be talkative tonight, so I figured to give him the chance.
So I guess with all that said, archery season's coming up. rut's upon us, so just make sure you're getting outside.